I used to really let people tell me that I can't do something, and I used to really let it get to me. Like, I knew that I had no chance. Hi, so sorry it's been a while since the last video. I've been sick. I think I told you I have this disability and it can happen that it suddenly just erupts. And I had a regression for 2 weeks and I was planning on doing this really major hike. So I did West Highland Way a few years ago and I was going to do it backwards. And it's a crazy difficult thing to do. It's actually easier forwards, and because there was a difference in the track, I knew that this time I'd be walking far longer than before. And last minute, I decided to do it anyhow. So I knew I was doing it sick. It was a crazy, crazy idea, but I did it. It was close to 40 kilometers in 2 days. I have no idea how I did the first one. It was just absolutely weird. Like, I got to Fort William late. And by the time I got all my luggage in the train station and I was out on the hike, and then I didn't think I would ever make it. Like, it was, about 22.5 kilometers, and I did it in 6 hours, which is like insane. I'm like the slowest walker that ever lived, but somehow I managed, and it was insane. And I had the most amazing views both that day and the day after. I just couldn't believe that I did it, and I think that is something that is true for this story and for the story that I'm about to tell you, because sometimes it looks like it's impossible. It looks like forget about it, like this is never ever 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 going to happen, but let's try anyhow, and then it works, and you just don't know why, but it did. And this is where I'm starting. So this story I would be about 10 years ago. I turned 30, so I'm 40 now, and I kind of made a promise to myself that whatever insane idea came into my head, like this is going to be the year of freedom, whatever crazy thing, I'm gonna go for it. And at the time I was a singer in Berlin. I worked mainly on religious music. I loved Mozart and I loved Haydn. Mozart was my favorite, but my number one piece I really wanted to do in my life was Haydn's Creation. It's a very difficult piece in terms of, like, it's singing for 1 hour net, and it's a double solo role, Gabriel and Eva, and the music is deep. There's quite a bit of nuances to, especially to Eva's character, and I really wanted to do it, and I nailed the audition, and the next day I got the freak out. I just thought, oh my goodness, because this is the peak. For my kind of voice, I'm not going to go any further. I'm a lyrical oratora, and this is like very complex musically, very complex physically. Yes, it was, not a big production. I could do it in a bigger place. I could do something similar, but I could never go actually further with the thing itself. And then I looked around me, and I'm sure you've heard what show business is like. It's a very unstable life. It's very hard to settle down. It's very hard to kind of work around the instability, both financially and career progression wise. And I just looked around me, and I saw mega talents. I saw people who did opera, which means that not only like me, they had to be good at the voice, they also had to be phenomenal acting talents. And they always struggled for their next role. And I'm talking some of the people who were the big stars of Berlin. And I thought to myself, wow, if these people struggle, what is it going to be like for me? And before I even make that move, should I stop and reconsider and do something else with my life? Because this is the peak, right? If this is as far as I can go in terms of the music itself and the voice itself, maybe this is the time to quit. And so, as it were, the day after the concert was the day I flew to England to change my life. So I'm 30. I have this big concert coming up. I have another concert where I'm about to do a live recording. There's a family visit, and I wake up in the morning and I'm insane. And I just really, really want to do an MBA. If you don't know what an MBA is, it's like the most opposite. Like if this is art, this is like way over there. It's just like you can't even see it in the distance. Like an MBA is a traditional desk job, corporate business degree. It's not even like I was interested in entrepreneurship. I still am. I think it's beautiful. I like the creativity. No, this is like going hardcore at business and then backing it up a little bit. Madness. Absolute madness. There was only one thing that was even more mad than this. Waking up in the morning a couple of days later and going, yeah, why don't I do it in Oxford? Nope. Right. The chances of me as a singer, we're talking about a degree where you have bankers and consultants and, you know, the least maybe a kind of mathematical person in the room would be the engineer, but really, as a singer, I mean, it was ridiculous. There's no chance. There's really like no chance. This is absolutely crazy madness. And I was like, okay, right, let's just call them. And oh my goodness, am I gonna cry on YouTube again? Like, is that gonna be my thing now? So I called them and they said, okay, can you do a GMAT? It feels a little bit like Legally Blonde, right? When she is just like, no chance of getting into the big school, in her case, Harvard. But this like one test is where it all hangs on. So I started studying. So I was like, at this time, I'm still auditioning. I'm like on the train going to an audition, the books in my hand, doing mathematics. And I had like a couple of books, one their book and another one had to crack the test. And it was just like madness, just madness. I was just doing maths and logic and different kinds of things and just like whatever it was on the test. And I, just to explain how far I had to go, like I knew that I had no chance. Like I knew I was like the last one in. It was clear to me. It was like I had no, I was not kidding myself. I had no illusions. This was like bad. I was going like against all odds, right? And so I thought, okay, right, what's really needed here is a crazy score. So the average GMAT score, I'm just going to look this up and then tell you. Right, if you want to score well, you kind of got to be in the mid 600s up. I decided that I'm getting 700. Okay, right, you don't get 700 on a GMAT, like that doesn't happen. And definitely not after like not doing anything mathematical for such a long time. And like it's a very difficult test because if you do a question, it gives you a harder question. So you're also, then you keep going harder and harder. So it's very difficult in the mind. Like you really got to keep it together. It's freaky. I remember on the test, my heart was just pounding the entire time. I was just like crazy adrenaline. Couldn't believe it was even there. And I'm talking to my friend. I'm like, listen, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get the 700 on the GMAT. And he's like, why are you doing this to yourself? Like you always set these like really high expectations. And I used to really let people tell me that I can't do something, and I used to really let it get to me. And I remember telling him like, you listen to me and you listen good. I'm getting that 700. Whether or not I'm getting into the school, I don't care. I'm getting that 700. So I'm sitting on the test and I'm done with the last question, and then I'm just waiting, and I'm waiting for everyone to exit so you can scroll about the time you could through the information stuff, and like you click here and click there, and I'm just waiting, and the room is emptying, and I just close my eyes and tell myself, listen, if you didn't get it, it's okay. It's okay. I'm okay with this. And I click and I open my eyes and it's 730. I got the Harvard score. Like, I couldn't believe it. I got in with a scholarship. I was the dumbest person in the class, like no, not even like by far. I didn't understand anything at first. I had to study like 70 hours a week, roughly the first semester. I would just sit and stare at books. I would sit and stare at my notes. I would but I loved it. I loved it. It was the best show on earth. I would just come and I couldn't get enough. I loved my teachers. I was inspired beyond all reason. I couldn't have chosen better. I also love the city. I thought it was kind of magical. Everything's so old. It's like 800 years old. It's the oldest university in the world. And you just in the English world, I think the first one was in Italy. And while I was there, I wanted to go hiking, and that's how I got to Scotland. And the rest is history. I have a family here now. I hope that you would aim for whatever it is you love and not judge yourself as to whether or not you're able, because you deserve it. You deserve it because you're born, and you were born to do those things. When you want something, it wants you back. I love you. Bye. Orkoshka from my upcoming book, Simple, Healthy, Raw Vegan. I'm about to eat this. Yeah.